Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison. I'm Teresa Holmes, Club President. Thank you all for joining us. Today's meeting is sponsored by Kathleen Broomrick and Paul Hoffman of Monona Bank, and our thanks for their support of today's luncheon. Our opening music will be Bob Dindorf, who will lead us in the singing of the national anthem with Jeff Bartell on the piano. And following that patriotic song, Bob will lead us in the singing of our feature song, Lazy, Hazy, Crazy Days of Summer.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Go Brewers! And you're helping. AmFam Field is. Yeah. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer, those days of soda and pretzels and beer. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Dust off the sun and moon and sing a song of cheer. Don't have to tell a girl and fella about a drive-in or some romantic movie scene. Right from the moment that those lovers start arriving, you'll see more kissing in the car than on the screen. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer, those days of soda and pretzels and beer. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. You'll wish that summer could always be here. You'll wish that summer could always be here. Movie.
And now our guests will be introduced by Sean Carney.
Thank you, Madam President. We are so fortunate today to have so many guests with us that we're going to dispense with reading individual names, and we're just going to welcome all our guests in a group here. So if all the guests would stand up, please, and let's give them a big introduction here to Rotary today. So. Thank you and welcome.
Indeed, a grand, single-most welcome to our guests does not mean that they are less important. All right, during my year as president, I'm working on a series called Traveling with Teresa. I plan to get Rotary some extra visibility while I'm out in the community, and so I created an introduction video to this series a few weeks ago. And some of you may have seen it in our Friday email on July 9th. The video is just over a minute in length, and so I'd like for us to take a look at it together. It is my amateur version of this series. Hello, Rotarians. It's your president, Teresa. I'm outside the Park Hotel, getting footage for my new segment called Traveling with Teresa. As I was walking to the Park Hotel, do you know, I think it's about 80 steps if I'm walking, from the door of our Rotary office to the front door of the Park Hotel. Who would have known? So, hello, Rotarians. I am in front of the Park Hotel, and I just stopped 4 wonderful guys who are having lunch. They're doing some other things, but we won't talk about that right now. So I wanted to ask you guys, have you ever heard of the Rotary Club of Madison?
Not of Madison, the other Rotary clubs.
You've heard of Rotary? Oh, what about you guys?
Yep.
It rings a bell, that's for sure.
All right, well,
Rotary unit.
yes. All right, great. Well, the downtown Rotary happens right here at the Park Hotel every Wednesday over lunch. We have great speakers, we have wonderful segments, and it's all about downtown and Madison. And so I'm getting some footage on my new segment called Traveling with Teresa, which involves talking a little bit about our Rotary experience and then meeting people out on the street, asking them what they know about Rotary.
That's us.
What do you think? Stop going. I said it's the amateur version. I'm looking forward to having some fun with those future videos. And so if any of you have any thoughts on topics for me to cover, I welcome your feedback. Scott Isaacson, who was the gentleman most closest to me, who was in the introductory video, introductory segment, could not be with us today. And he works for Nordic Consulting, which is a healthcare IT firm. It's been one of the additions to our classifications, and so we're looking forward to increasing that area of membership. Our program committee is trying something new this year as well. As a way for our members to become more connected to other leaders in the community, we are launching a monthly series titled Conversations with Community Leaders. This segment of our meeting will feature leaders who are new to Madison or have a new role in the community. To start us off, Deb Archer interviewed Ellie Westman-Chin, who succeeded Deb as president and CEO of Destination Madison last February. We are also inviting the person to our luncheon when we show the video, so members have a chance to meet and say hello. But unfortunately, Ellie wasn't able to attend today's meeting. We do hope that she will be visiting us at a meeting in a future date. Let's watch the 4-minute video with Deb and Ellie.
Hi, my name is Deb Archer, and I'm so excited today to introduce everyone to Ellie Westman-Chin. Ellie has relocated here, and she'll tell us about that in a minute, but she's the new CEO of Destination Madison and the Madison Area Sports Commission. And Ellie has an incredible background in this industry, and she is going to be an incredible leader leading tourism into the future after the pandemic. So hi, Ellie.
Hi, Deb.
Oh, it's great to see you.
Well, what an honor for me to be interviewed by you. I mean, that's awesome. I've been so excited about this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love passing the torch, and you're just going to be awesome.
Thank you.
So please tell us, where did you relocate here from?
I moved up to Madison from Franklin, Tennessee, which is located just about 20 minutes south of Nashville.
Beautiful place.
Beautiful, beautiful area. Yes.
So you came to another beautiful place,
Did.
but tell everybody why the job in Madison and what it was that attracted you about coming here.
So you told me to keep my answers short, but this one is kind of hard to keep short. I'll just warn you. But you know, there were a number of factors that played into my husband and myself's decision to move here. One is we've always been fans of Madison, like so many people are, right? When you talk about Madison, they're like, I love Madison. But the activities here in Madison from a personal level with the great music and the arts and the dining scene and the hiking and the biking, I mean, I could just go on and on. It is just fabulous. On a professional level, You and the team at Destination Madison have done tremendous work, really impressive work, and the opportunity to come and work with that team and really take Madison through recovery and out of the pandemic was just such a great opportunity for me. And then on a very personal level, I grew up in the Midwest. So really for me, it was coming home again back to the Midwest, and it was great to be able to do that.
Oh, full circle.
It really is.
That is fabulous. So why don't you talk just for a minute about tourism and recovery and where you see things heading?
Yes, definitely, because we have written a recovery plan. We shared that recovery plan with the board and our partners and our stakeholders at the end of April and have started implementing that plan. I think there is only opportunity for us to recover from the pandemic and really build a great foundation for growth and future growth. And I'm so excited about that. There's also a really wonderful opportunity for all of us to work together, not only those of us in the tourism industry, but our community partners and stakeholders, and everybody who might be watching this video, because there's an opportunity. If your company hosts meetings and you're doing that in another place, we'd love for you to host that meeting here in Madison and help us rebuild the economy and that economic impact that we lost in 2020 due to the pandemic. If you're part of an association and you have an opportunity to talk to your association about bringing their meeting here, we want to talk to you too. So this just gives an opportunity for this community to work so close together to get us healthy again, get that economic impact back, and keep moving forward.
Well, it will take a village.
It will take a village.
And I know that you've already outreached to so many people, and people are excited about working with you. And before we stop, I just have to tell you how much the Rotary Club wants to see you join. When you're up and running and you have the bandwidth, we would welcome you with open arms.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for being here.
We're looking forward to seeing more of those for sure. Our club has a Rotary Information Subcommittee that provides occasional brief reports on Rotary topics. Today, Ron Luskin, who is our member recruitment officer, is going to come up and talk more about the Rotary topic of membership. Ron?
Thank you, President Teresa. First, I want to ask an important question, though. Who here has heard of the new restaurant downtown called the Harvey House? Anybody been there? I had the good pleasure of being there a couple weeks ago, went to the soft opening. It was an amazing experience, an experience that I wanted to share with you today and like to share with others. Fabulous drinks, good food, attentive service, and the ambiance. It's a spectacular renovation that they did of that train station. Has anybody read a good book this summer? Jason? Jason else?
I have.
What?
That's random. Why would you call on me? The American Spy by Warren Wilkinson. Fantastic book.
All right. A great, good book to be recommended. I understand it's a spy thriller.
It is about Burkina Faso.
Thank you, Jason. What about anybody have a great play they'd like to recommend to someone? Emily. Fiddler on the Roof. What a timeless production. And it's something that's really relevant from one generation to the next, is it not? Yeah, and I even know how to say l'chaim. You know, I just wanted to demonstrate for a moment that I've enjoyed a great restaurant experience that I wanted to share with you. Jason has read a great book. Emily's recommending a great play. What we want to do is recommend the Rotary experience to our friends and our colleagues. And we want to merely invite them to lunch and experience what we're seeing here today with a tremendous leader in our community speaking to us about the accomplishments of American Family Insurance. So please, think about bringing somebody to lunch.
Thank you, Ron. We have birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor or wisdom that complements our Rotary mission. We also encourage members to make an age-appropriate gift to the Madison Rotary Foundation, rounded up to $100 for our club's Synergy Scholarship Fund. Rotarians, if you are in the room when I call your name, please stand. July 25th, past President Roth Judd. July 26th, Sandy Morales. July 29th, past President Ted Long. July 29th, Jennifer Weitzman. July 30th, Dewey Bredesen. July 30th, Kaleem Kerr. July 30th, Jason Hunt. And July 30th, Rebecca Prohaska. Please thank our celebrants for their contributions to the Madison Rotary Foundation and join me in wishing them a happy birthday. To you, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Teresa. Happy birthday to you. All right. A little bit of business. I have and wanted to make a quick announcement about reservations for the luncheon. So the office is now sending an email every Tuesday morning to remind members about reserving for our Wednesday luncheon. The reason we need reservations is because the hotel is asking us to provide a meal count, and we are actually charged for that specific count. As we transition back into meeting in person from the pandemic, it's very difficult to determine how many guests or how many members will be attending each week. So for the past 2 weeks, only 40% of our reservations have come in after our Tuesday noon deadline, with most of them coming in on Wednesday morning. We don't think reservations will be needed forever. We're pivoting, Rotarians. But until further notice, you can be helpful to us by just taking and helping us with an accurate account of our reservations. And it's really quick. All you have to do is click on the link in the email and type your name or reply. Or does anyone remember the new way that you can actually reserve for the luncheon? You can text your reservation to the luncheon. We are moving into the 21st century. More. That's it, and thank you. Members in the news. We have a few members in the news to highlight, but first I wanted to mention and give some thoughts that our dear member, Boris Frank, who was admitted to a Grace Hospice this past weekend. No visitors, please, but you can contact his son, Greg Frank, who I believe is in the audience, and to see how Boris is doing. I also wanted to let you know that a former member, Sue Ann Kastner, passed away on July 17th. We extend our sympathies to Sue's family. Bob Calder was pictured and quoted in an article titled Army Veteran, and Bob says and shares that the joys of Wisconsin cycling. We have some businesses listed in Madison Magazine's Best of Home and Lifestyle column: Tim Conroy's Capitol Lakes, John Hayes for Goodman Jewelers, Trey Sprinkman's for Sprinkman Real Estate, and Dave Stark of Stark Company Realtors. All right, on to the program. Our speaker today is Jack Salzwedel, who will be retiring as American Family Insurance CEO in January. I asked Jack if you even thought about what you're going to do. He hasn't thought about it yet, so he's still busy fulfilling his current role. Jack began his career at American Family Insurance in 1983 as a claim adjuster. In 1985, he followed in the footsteps of his father and became an agent for the company. Jack then took sales and product lines leadership roles at American Family, leading up to his election as chairman and chief executive officer in 2011. In his current role, Jack oversees the American Family enterprise of companies, which includes the American Family brand and subsidiaries, Connect, Homesite, The General, and Main Street America. In his tenure, the company has transformed, added new companies, and distributed systems to its enterprise. The American Family enterprise has more than doubled in revenue and assets since 2011. A social media advocate, CEO.com, recently named Jack the most engaged Fortune 500 CEO on Twitter. Congratulations. We are looking forward to his presentation and have made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund as a way to say thanks for him speaking to us today. My first fee. I also wanted to mention that we will have Q&A at the end of Jack's presentation, but please remember to wait for the microphone if you have a question. Let's welcome Jack to our podium.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here and get to reconnect with some friends in the room that I haven't seen in a while. And I was actually in Rotary when I was an agent in Sun Prairie a number of years ago, and so I know the singing and I know the birthdays and the new members. It's awesome to see it again. So there's a clicker up here. Is it here? Ah, got it. Okay, thank you. First off, thanks to Monona Bank. I don't know if any of you got your little coin, but I want to say thank you very much for that. I appreciate it very much. So, you know, it's great to be here, and I've spent a lot of time at American Family. I started in claims. My dad was an agent in the DeForest area, so I really grew up with it. The person who hired me into agency and promoted me a couple times, Joe Tistrin, is right here, who's been a mentor and a friend of mine for many, many years. And Joe surprised me and said he would be here today, so I appreciate that. There's many other AmFam folks here, but I became an agent in the Sun Prairie area, and then had an opportunity to move down to Milwaukee and become a sales manager, and then became a sales director, and caught the eye of some folks in Madison, and was promoted to be an officer with the company in 2000 by a guy by the name of Darnell Moore. He was the first African-American executive vice president with American Family. Darnell became a huge friend and mentor of mine, and then kind of made my way to the CEO and chair. And I would tell you that it was not my design when I started out in claims that I would end up being chair and CEO of American Family. And it's been a bit of a journey and a lot of fun and a lot of work. And as I show you some of the slides, I want to make sure that you understand that I get a lot of credit for the transformation that's been done at American Family and the growth that we've had in a lot of areas. But it's people that I work with, the team that we have, many of whom are here today, who have really made it happen. And so the commitment to the community isn't just me, it's really an entire executive team, it's the agents that we have, the great agents that we have. And so I want to give just that little bit of disclaimer as we start talking about what has American Family done over the last 10 years, my tenure as CEO and chair, and where are we positioned to go in the future, and how does really community activism fit into the role that we play at American Family, and would like to talk a little bit about that. The banner to my left says service above self, which is a Rotarian value, and it really extends beyond Rotary sometimes to businesses and organizations in your community. And I'd say at American Family, we definitely feel that way as well. So let me start first. Talk a little bit about community investment. It's connected to our business strategy at American Family, and we believe in building strong community. And when you think about that, you think about Madison, or you think about Sun Prairie or Monona, or wherever it might be. But actually, we think of American Family as its own isolated community as well. And how do we strengthen each other within our little ecosystem of American Family? And then how does that work across our company into the communities that we live and work? And so really that concept of community and strengthening community is central to our business strategy. So when we think about how we develop new markets, new products, all of that, this idea of community and strengthening community fits centrally into that as well. So you see on this page we talk about our community investment. Naira Jordan is over here. She leads much of that. Community investment, but all around that is strategy, it's values, it's culture, it's leadership. It's aligning our structure to our strategy, our community brand, technology, all these things that we think about in terms of business strategy. We also think about in terms of community investment and what the relationship is there. So I wanted to start out with that because really building a strong community in Dane County or in Madison is no different than what we're trying to do, building a community at American Family. So over the last 10 to 15 years, we realized that we needed to, as we looked at technology and where the world was heading, that we needed to really up our game in a lot of different areas. So we put in place a new strategic plan back in the late 2000s that we're still executing on today. And the critical elements all working together are really things like mission vision, things like values, things like your strategy and your strategic plan, things like culture. You know, how important it is to make sure as you have a strategy that people are aligned to that and that the culture that you have helps you to achieve the business results that you want to have. Technology is you talk about being texting here. You know, there's a lot of technology that's changed in the last 10 years, and how can that support what we're trying to build at American Family in terms of customers, but how can that build the community that we're looking at as well? Our brand, aligning structure to strategy, and then leadership as well, are all things that I would say have been part of the transformation of American Family. We have 3 pillars that I just mentioned, 2 of which I'll highlight just quickly, and then the third I'll spend a little more time on. And these 3 pillars were really central to our transformation. The first one being technology investments that we needed to make and have made and continue to move forward on that. Acquisitions, startups, and mergers. Has anybody seen a commercial for the General, high-risk auto insurance? Shaq is a brand ambassador. A lot of people don't realize that American Family purchased the General in 2012. And that organization is a part of what we call the American Family Enterprise. So we've been very active in terms of acquisitions, startups, and mergers. And then our community and brand strengthening over that period of time as well. You see some of the folks there, our brand ambassador program. We've been very active there, as well as some other things that I'll mention. So these 3 areas, key pillars to our transformation. And I'll just spend a second talking about technology. See if I can get this slide on. So this is a depiction of what our technology looked like around 2010. Right, right. You know, when I show this to most people, I get the same chuckle. And this is what happens when you have a 90-plus year company that's been building upon itself. And every time there's shaking heads out here. Every time you add a product, every time you add a distribution piece, every time you add, you know, some other, a new HR policy, that has to fit into the technology that you had. And what happens is what they call spaghetti logic, which is what this graph is. And everything has to interconnect. The problem is when you're down on the left-hand side and you want to make a change to that little box down there, you typically have to go through all these other ones to make sure that there aren't unintended consequences in some other box along the way. And many times there are. What this does is it just creates a lot of time that's wasted in terms of maintaining this type of a system, and also issues in terms of the speed with which you can make these changes. So we've spent, in the last 10 years, we've spent over $1 billion revamping our technology platform to the point where it now looks more like this, okay? So if you're trying to make a change on the left, that lower left-hand box, you know, the ability to get that in production, you don't have as many of these spaghetti noodles to go through to make sure that you're okay with all the other things going on at American Family. So technology has been a huge enabler for us to achieve this strategy that we have at American Family. A lot of it has to do with the great work Teresa was talking about. She worked at it with AmFam for a number of years. A lot of it has to do with our IT people and the great job they've done to transform this. Second pillar is mergers and acquisitions. This is kind of the sexy piece of what we have done in the last 10 years. We purchased the General. We purchased a company, the ones I'll highlight, a company called HomeSite. If you're ever watching a commercial for Geico or Progressive and they talk about selling homeowners insurance or renters insurance, bundling with their product, they don't typically manufacture that product. they have someone else do that. American Family, through a company called HomeSite, does a lot of that digital home insurance. The Main Street America Group, that was the largest mutual-to-mutual merger with an independent agent company out of Texas. And then Ameriprise up in Green Bay. They have call center insurance sales, and their main provider of people is Costco. And so if you're a member of Costco and you see the booklet that they send out monthly, you'll see something for American Family Connect. So American Family, the Roofline brand, the agents that you see with American Family is one piece of what the American Family enterprise is. 10 years ago, that was 100% of our revenue. Today, it's about 57% of our revenue. So we have a more balanced portfolio. Our agents do great, and I'll show a slide. Our agents do great work, but they're one piece of the distribution that we have overall as an enterprise. This was what American Family looked like in 2011. We had about $5.7 billion in revenue. We had about 8 million policies in force and about $5.7 billion in enterprise equity. That's the strength we have. We operated we operated in 19 states, completely in 19 states. And the darkest states there, Wisconsin, Missouri, and Minnesota, were the three main states. And as the winds blow in the summertime, if you got a bad hailstorm or tornadoes that happened in the Midwest, it had a huge impact on our financials. And so what we've moved to with the mergers and acquisitions and some of the changes that we've had is a more balanced national footprint, where we are a national company now. We still have a lot of heavy concentration in the Midwest, but we have business in Texas and Florida, California, New Mexico, all over the United States. Our premium has more than doubled, $5.7 billion to $11.8 billion. Some of that's come through mergers and acquisitions, but a lot of that has come from our agents selling more and from the acquisitions that we're involved with them growing a lot more too. So we've had great growth there. Policies in force have grown, and our enterprise equity, which is a number, Joe knows this is our financial strength. This is the ability to pay claims. We're as strong as we've ever been in terms of that equity, which is as important as growing the top line of the business. So, and then we get to the last pillar, which is really our community strength. And you know, when you look at this slide, really, we have a few slides. This is more structurally how we think about connecting our business results to our communities. So we have the American Family Dreams Foundation on the left. That Dreams Foundation was formed in 2016. It handles all of our philanthropic work, and we, through that foundation, we invest tens of millions of dollars per year in our communities. We have the Steve Stricker Foundation. That was formed around the same time, and that was to support the PGA event that we hold each summer here in Madison. And that foundation, on a yearly, I think in the 5 years we've run that, I think we've been able to donate around $12 million, and that stays mostly locally. And then one other structural piece that we have, or two other, the American Family Institute for Corporate and Social Impact. Naira is a key piece. Naira, would you just wave your hand? She's a key piece of this, and this is where we really see the intersection between business strategy and community impact. We, in that institute, we will invest in minority-owned entrepreneurs who are trying to change the world and who need a little more of a break than perhaps some other people do. We need to raise them up to level the playing field. And so we've allocated lots of money in that area to invest in these startups that then turn around and come back and provide product or services for us in the American Family business, and then through the value of that company increasing, basically pay for themselves. So the American Family Institute has been around, Naira, when did 2019. So that's just getting going, but a really critical piece of our community investment. And then the Dream Bank, you may have heard of that. That's a place where people who in the community have an idea, want to figure out how do I make this work? You know, where should I go to help with a business plan? How do I connect with an attorney or with an accountant, they can go to the Dream Bank and we provide services. Our mission with American Family is to inspire, protect, and restore dreams. The Dream Bank is part of that Inspiring Dreams. And as we do that, those individuals then start to start businesses. They need insurance, so we help them with their insurance. And it's a cycle that's really circular that helps the community, but it helps American Family overall as well. So these are structural pieces of our community investment. And then we get on into some of the things that are more programmatic that we have at American Family. So through those structural pieces, we have a huge commitment to the United Way of Dane County. They do tremendous work. I know Christy Shepard is in the room here. I don't know where Christy is. There she is over there. United Way does great work. We, places like Rotary, I mean, we have lots of support for nonprofits. The American Family Championship, I mentioned the work that's done there. And then we have other things that strengthen the community, like our naming rights for American Family Field. Along with that commitment to the Brewers in the city of Milwaukee comes work with their philanthropic arm to try to support things that are going on in Milwaukee. Summerfest, another key partnership for us, and they have a program called Let the Music Play, which allows folks who are typically disadvantaged to have access to musical instruments and instructors to be able to help them as well. So there's this whole piece of programs that are supported by the structure that we have in place. But then it also gets to our employee group as well. And on this slide, we have just a few of the comments, headlines that have been in the paper over the last year. And I think the pandemic has really highlighted the fact that companies that miss the boat on what their workforce is really looking for stand the risk of losing lots of people. And you just see some of these headlines around Whole Foods and their employee demands. Walmart has had some of this labor activism at Apple and at Google, Amazon as well. And so this piece of taking the community all the way down to the employee level is a really important piece for us as well. To the point where we've done some things over the last year to strengthen that bond with our employee group. Livable wage for all office locations. We announced the middle of last year that we would increase the minimum wage for everyone at American Family, the person who's starting in a call center, person who's cutting the grass, wherever you might be, that we have a $20 per hour minimum wage. We brought everybody up to that level. We instituted a student loan repayment plan for folks who are going back to school to get to re-engineer their careers in some cases. We have an increasing tuition reimbursement program, employee scholarships, where folks, employees or agent staff and their kids, they can apply for scholarships for college or technical school. Definitely expanded leave options, including parental leave, for not just having a child, but for caring for an elderly parent or grandparent, which we're seeing now as much use and capacity in that area as there is on the other end of caring for children. Remote work, obviously, we're doing that, hoping to get back to the office, but just saw again that another mask mandate looks like it's coming, so we'll be dealing with that. And then this heavy focus on diversity, inclusion, and culture, which is just a key pillar for us at American Family as well. We go down to the level where we look at all levels of jobs, we look at all operating companies, and we try to see where we have gaps in terms of our racial and ethnic diversity, our female and gender diversity, and we're working into things like people with disabilities and other areas as well. So this idea that the workforce of the future, of the present and the future, is going to require that you really consider and take steps at developing a very, very diverse workforce And we know on the back end of that that drives innovation and it drives great business results as well. So there's good social reasons and community reasons to do this, but there's great business reasons to do this too. You know, lastly, I just say at American Family, we believe in this concept of constructive dissatisfaction, which is that gnawing piece, and I would say I got this from the gentleman sitting right in front of me right here. We probably didn't call it that, Joe, but he was dissatisfied with me often, I think, but in a constructive way. And I think that's the key. It's this gnawing that you have to make things better. It's this feeling that I can have an impact today on what's coming in the future, and you shouldn't be limited by anything in your history that is not so great, but let that history be an inspiration and not any type of a limitation. And this is one of the leadership principles that we believe very strongly in at American Family. It's really driven us over the last 15 years to get some of the business results and the involvement in the community that we've been a part of. So I don't know if I have any time left or not, but I do. So anyway, thank you again. I really appreciate the invitation and would be more than willing to take any questions that you might have.
Is this on? Oh, yes. Hi, yeah.
Hey, Susan.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. And thanks so much for all that you've done for this community and communities around the country. You said at the beginning that you are still working with a strategic plan, that it must have been a good one, because you're still working with it. So could you explain like how that strategic plan has helped you work through COVID and the D&I things? Maybe it's an example of a good strategic plan. So.
Yeah, I'd say we still have the framework for the strategic plan is the same that we've had, but there's definitely a lot of things within the plan that have shifted over the years. And I think one thing that has helped us is we've talked at American Family this last year of the different crises we've had. We had a health crisis with the pandemic. We had an economic crisis early on with a drop in the market. We had a race crisis with what happened in Minneapolis, but has been happening, and then a real leadership crisis. Those four crises we've talked about a lot with our group, and I would say we were a little bit on the front end of that, in particular with the race crisis and spending a lot of time on the leadership end of that as well. So I'd say we went into the pandemic pretty well positioned. We're an insurance company, so risk is what we do. So we might have not predicted that it would be a pandemic, but we predict for extreme events to happen that have a tremendously bad impact on markets or on individuals, communities. Terrible storms happening at the same time as a market meltdown happening at the same time as other things. So I would say we didn't predict the pandemic, but we predict bad things happening, and we have plans in place to kind of try to mitigate. And then as we work through it, we went remote with 14,000 employees within 10 days. I mean, it's unbelievable. And part of it's a lesson for us to say all these things that we look at and we say, oh, that's too hard to do. They're really not too hard to do if you decide you need to do it. Now were all those people operating, before that we said, if you're going to work remote, you need to have a dedicated space, you need to be able to close the door, keep your dog and your cat out of there, kids have to be out of there, and you don't go remote in 10 days without there being bumps where someone calls in for a claim and someone's got a cat on their shoulder or something. But people also understood the environment we're dealing with there too. So you need to have a lot of flexibility in these plans as well. But part of the plan was we had a heavy concentration. Back in 2010, we had a heavy concentration in product. With our auto product, it was almost 70% of our business. Driverless cars, crash avoidance technology. We're worried about that revenue. We had a heavy concentration in geography in the Midwest. We had a heavy concentration in distribution, everything in exclusive agents. Today, we're much more balanced we've doubled our size, but we're much more balanced as an organization in terms of geography, product, and distribution. And I think that, at the end of the day, is a really important point for us.
Thank you for being here today. I'm just curious, in addition to what you do in Madison, Milwaukee with the Brewers, the golf tournament and such, are you visible in other major markets? You're in St. Louis, you're in Chicago. To what extent are you investing in some of those communities as well?
Yeah, we really have a very active program in all our markets. We do invest in certain markets more than other markets. I would say Atlanta is a market. If you're a soccer fan at all, you've seen the American family emblem on the kit of Atlanta United. We have a relationship with the Seattle Seahawks. We do a lot of philanthropy in different markets around the country, and that's expanded. But Wisconsin is a stronghold, and we can't lose Wisconsin. And so the emphasis on Madison, the emphasis on Milwaukee is a conscious effort to do that, and I think you'll see that going forward as well, because it's where the bulk of our employees live and work. We have great market share here as well, and we have opportunities to, the city of Milwaukee has a very diverse potential employee base. We have great colleges here. They have great colleges in Milwaukee with Marquette and UWM and Concordia, Milwaukee School of Engineering. So concerted effort in Wisconsin, but definitely we operate and invest in most major markets as well. Yeah.
Jack, thank you for being here today. We would love to have you as a member of this club when you retire.
Thank you.
Come to lunch again. Looking at your quote, "Let your history be a source of inspiration, not limitation," could you comment on your policy of hiring formerly incarcerated individuals?
Yeah, I won't do this justice, but I think Naira, would you mind answering that one? Because that is really important. I'll just say this: for years and years and years, one of the questions on our insurance application was, have you been convicted of a felony? We have no data to show that if you've been convicted of a felony, that your risk of getting in an auto accident, but it's something that's been in our history forever, and we've started looking at things like that as part of this and saying, does that make any sense at all? And a lot of it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I feel like that's a plant question, though, that Jack asked you to answer that question. Just to clarify, the Institute actually opened in 2018, and we started doing investments and working with the community in 2019, so I just want to clarify that. But as far as doing business with individuals that have been formerly incarcerated, part of our work, in addition to looking for high-impact startups to invest in, as well as community partners like some of you folks in this room, we're also looking internally at our policies and practices. That goes from hiring, to make sure we're an inclusive organization in terms of workforce development and talent, as well as our policies. So are we accessible to communities that have been just as involved in terms of a customer group? And so we're digging deep to make sure and to see where we can step into this a little bit more, what's in our control. We also are a highly regulated industry, so we have to keep that in mind as well as we look at these policies. But in terms of fair chance hiring, we've done and looked at all of that, and we are an inclusive hirer when it comes to individuals that have been just as involved. We look to see the connection between that past offense and the work that they're going to do, and we also have to be mindful of negligent hiring practices. So all of that comes into play when we think about our workforce. And with so many people being remote, that also opens up other opportunities. We've partnered with organizations locally like Just Dane. We've actually hired and had a talent pipeline with Just Dane. We also have a national partnership with an organization called Next Chapter, which trains individuals while they're incarcerated in computer technology. When they're released, takes them through a robust training accelerator program and positions them to then be interns and hopefully become full-time employees with us. So I hope I answered your question.
See that? So how can you not be a good CEO when you have people like that you get to work with? I mean, seriously.
Thank you so much for being here. You can see the the room is really crowded today. We're delighted.
questions.
I'd like to have you comment on your company's commitment to sustainability and the environment.
Yeah, we've been an early advocate of, carbon emission, getting to zero carbon. We have I'm not sure if we still do, but I think we have the largest private solar farm on our roofs of any employer in Wisconsin, I think it is. And we have an area that's led by Beth Churchill. I don't know if you're familiar with Beth, but just an absolute star when it comes to these efforts in the corporate setting. And I, like with NYRA, I won't do justice to what all the efforts are, but I would just say that it's, again, one of these where it fits with what our it's the right thing to do, but it also fits with what our employee group wants to see. So we believe that it helps us retain those types of employees who have the same type of mindset. And at the end of the day, it strengthens the American family community and strengthens the overall community as well. So it's an important piece. I can't tick off, a half a dozen programs that we have, but it's a very robust area led by somebody who's accomplished academically, but also very accomplished within the organization as well.
Jack, thank you for coming and congratulations on your retirement. I've been doing that for over a year now and it's fun. My question is specifically on equity, diversity, and inclusion, and then you talked about race. I've noticed your movement in the last 3-4 years on you hiring Latinos, hiring African American, Southeast Asian, on and on. How will that be sustained when you retire and your predecessors, because you set the tone and you developed that culture, and if it's not sustained, it's going to be one of those, downward movements again. And I look at American Family and all the other corporate entities here in Madison and Dane County, how will you sustain that? And I congratulate you because I personally know some of the Latinos that you've hired at American Family. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a really important thing and a strong consideration for me as I was thinking about my exit ramp and thinking about the next team that's coming in and all the progress that we've made in the last few years. And I can guarantee you that this concept, this idea of a diverse workforce that propels your business results, that propels your innovation and your execution of what you need to do, that this piece was central to myself in the development of the people who are rising in the organization, and from our board of directors standpoint in picking Bill Westrate as my successor. And I have no doubt that we will not only sustain what we've been doing, but improve and increase the diversity, because it's good for the company to do that. It's good for us as a community, but it's good for the business results as well. So I appreciate you highlighting me, but it's really there's a big team and there's a lot of talent there that's going to sustain and do great things. So thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you again, Jack. We've enjoyed having you and your team here. Thanks everyone who's attended today's meeting. I hope you're here next Wednesday when we will hear from the UW Marching Band Director, Corey Pompey. We are adjourned.